Does it still show up? Can you still see the
Yeah.
QR code?
Yeah, we should be good there.
Cool.
Or I just Slacked you something.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Perfect.
Intro yourselves,
Oh,
Justine.
slide. Okay.
Yeah. But you'll just be like, I'm Justine, and then kick it off. You didn't want to use your background with the stand-up, like wall and microphone?
Oh. I feel like we'll save those for my stand-up with Justine calls.
Yeah.
Awesome. Got some attendees coming in.
Yeah.
All right. So as we're waiting for some more people to trickle in here, start with a quick icebreaker question. I've been watching the show Succession. I've been really obsessed with it recently, specifically because I live in New York City and it's something so beyond what I am used to as the life of a billionaire living in Manhattan. So I'd like to hear what your favorite show is right now, Priscilla and Isaac.
Yeah, Priscilla.
Sure. I am a first-time mom to a 9-month-old, so I don't have very much time to spend binge watching shows as much as I used to. But when I do, I have been really into Ted Lasso. It's just the feel-good, happy fuzzies that you get from watching it is unbeatable. So I'm really looking forward to watching the final episode tonight, actually.
You know, I never got to see that one, but it's on my list.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Mine's definitely on the opposite end of the happy fuzzy spectrum. I'm gonna go with Barry on that one with Bill Hader, but yeah, been a solid show so far.
Yeah, that is a good one. I watched a few episodes of that one. It's fun.
Awesome. All right. I think we could get started here. It's been about 2 minutes. We'll let people trickle in as they come through. So thanks everyone for joining. Today we're going to do a deep dive on UserGems for marketing teams. We're also joined by Priscilla from User Testing, who is one of our favorite customers. So super excited to hear how she uses UserGems over at User Testing. My name's Justine. I'm going to start us off. I work in product marketing over here at UserGems. Priscilla, if you wanted to go over and introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Super happy to be here. And I am Priscilla Converse. I am a senior demand generation manager at User Testing, and I've been with the company for about 3 years now. So being on the demand gen team, it's all about building that pipeline.
I feel that. I'm Isaac Ware, Director of Demand Gen over at UserGems, really heavy on paid media and ABM and just figuring out new ways to use our own product on the marketing side.
Awesome. Thank you both for being here. Cool. So today, just a quick agenda of what we're hoping that you'll take away from this, of why tracking champion job changes, why does that matter, and where does this actually fit into your overall tech stack as a marketer. We'll also go through Priscilla's step-by-step playbook on how she's using UserGems. And then we'll give you some other ideas too from Isaac. Like he mentioned, he's always playing around with our products internally. So he's been crafting up some really cool ways to use UserGems for his demand gen programs. But first, a little background on what's been going on in the market recently. I'm sure it's not news, but buyers are a bit more skeptical these days. They're more cognizant of bringing on new tools because of internal risk internally with their own revenue challenges. So that old quote of "you never got fired for buying IBM" is just no longer the case anymore. People are really scrutinizing over their budgets and really mindful of what tech stack they're bringing in. So At this point, buyer committees are expanding. They're around 9 to 12 people. And we found by analyzing over 5,000 opportunities at UserGems, we found that 20% of your champions change jobs every year. And we also found by analyzing these 5,000 opportunities that deals with a past champion actually have 2x win rates, and their ACV sizes are 54% bigger. But first, who are gems? So first, we're going to quickly define that. So basically, where we define gem is someone that's familiar with your brand or product. So someone who's bought from you before, an opportunity contact, a past user, someone where you have a relationship with your product. And when this person then switches jobs, that relationship becomes a little less stable, and you'll want to follow them on to their next company. So some quick overall business impact of these gems. On average, we're seeing this account for around 10 to 20% of your overall pipeline, which in turn does lead to a large portion of closed won revenue. We are also finding some of our customers with a lower cost per customer acquisition, as you can see here with electric coming in at 68% lower, which is incredible. A few steps here on how to actually turn these people that have a relationship with your product into revenue. First, you want to identify who are those people that are important to you. So some things that I mentioned before, past buyers or past users, past evaluators as well. Finding out a way to track these. So UserGems is a tool to track this. We can track them automatically. However, there all are additional ways to track this. So you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator for more of a manual tracking of your gems. You find out one of your champions changes jobs. There needs to be some type of an action that comes along with that. So just being alerted of this isn't enough anymore. So we want to make sure that the messaging that your sales and marketing teams are then delivering to these gems is relevant to them and insightful enough for them to come back around. And then multi-threading is the big buzzword these days, specifically in marketing. One issue that we've been seeing is that someone will reach out to just one gem and really put it on their backs to carry that deal across the line. Whereas these days, around 7 to 10 people need to have an input for a deal to close. So you want to make sure that you're connected to everyone that matters within the account that you're going after. And then reporting on things like champion tracking, we heard is extremely difficult. A lot of this is done ad hoc by your sales teams. It could be one-off plays from marketing. Having comprehensive reporting on these plays that you're running is super important in order to tie back your revenue down the line. So where does UserGems fit in this program? So first, you're going to have a lot of different intent sources. So you might be using something like a Sixth Sense, like a demand base, but you can also use UserGems to indicate that an account has intent. So if one of your champions moves from one account to another, they already have previously bought your product and show value. That could then be a higher intent account than another one without a champion. So once you identify your accounts, you'll want to then identify the people in the accounts that are actually important to you. So what we found is most of the time around 50% of your key buyers or the buying committee of these intent accounts are missing. So what UserGems will do then is surface the most important key contacts within these accounts directly into your CRM. And then it's really a multi approach from both your sales and your marketing team. So you can see here something that we do, and I'm sure Isaac will talk about a little bit later, is we reach out to our gems with both our ADR team, with our outreach sequences, but then also Isaac at the same time is serving them up some ads on LinkedIn. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Priscilla to deep dive into how she's using UserGems at user testing.
Yeah, happy to share. Within user testing, there's, of course, these are not unique challenges to user testing specifically. I think these are challenges that a lot of marketers face across all different types of industries. But so getting prospects' attention and time, I know that when I wake up in the morning and log on and look at my inbox, it's atrocious. I've got emails coming in from just tons of different vendors. And I mean, you can count upwards of 30 to 40 emails just from vendors. And it's really easy to spot when it's an email from a vendor that's trying to book a meeting with me versus somebody internal who I have a project with, or even someone external who I have an ongoing project with. So a lot of times what people are doing is they look at their inbox and they just start clicking the delete button, and they don't even look at the subject lines. They're not even looking at what you're saying. It's just, I know that this is somebody who's trying to book a meeting with me and I don't have time for that. So just a huge challenge currently is getting prospects' attention and time, breaking through all of the extra commotion and noise out there to really grab their attention. Another thing is getting higher in the org, and Justine hit the nail on the head when she was referencing multi-threading. So, we could get in touch with an individual contributor all day, and it's just easier to get their attention and spark up a conversation with them. But really what we're aiming for is to connect higher. We want the individual contributor, but we also want to bring into that conversation an executive level, C-suite, director and above. So I know that that's always a challenge that a lot of marketers and reps who are doing the outreach are facing. Another one is ensuring sales enablement is on point, as well as your follow through. So being on the demand gen team, a really big thing for us is, our job doesn't just stop once we hand over an MQL to sales. Really what we need to do is see it through. We want to make sure, okay, does the field and sales team understand who this person came from and what their persona is, how to reach out to them, what sequence to put them into, how to talk, how to personalize with them, how to follow up, where to even look within Salesforce to know where to go to grab these people to put them into the correct sequences and personalized follow-up. So there's a lot of communication that takes place. There's a lot of training as well that takes place. And so we're working on getting better at that ourselves. It's always something that we're striving to do better with. And then this last point here, just being a well-oiled machine. So, everybody has such a huge tech stack. There's just tech up the wazoo that can do so many things for us. But what we need to do is make sure that it's all running smoothly, properly. Our automation systems are not breaking down because we all know that causes a lot of issues where, lead routing isn't working properly, scoring's not working properly. If your systems are not talking to each other, syncing and working smoothly, then everything kind of breaks down, unfortunately. So making sure that that's running smoothly is really important. So as far as, taking UserGems and building pipeline with it, we have two different programs. We have the alumni program and we have the prospect program. So the alumni program, of course, is our customers, those who are using our platform and then go on to a new company once they change jobs. So that's the gems that we're talking about. But then we also have on the prospect side. So they were not a customer or a user. They have not been in our platform. However, They are high intent because they came to us and they requested a trial at some point in time. And then when we reached out to them to initiate the trial setup with them, they, for some reason or another, went non-responsive. Everybody gets busy, you know, they shoot off the trial request and then boom, they go on vacation, never to be heard from again. So that happens. And then another one is closed lost opportunities. So people who were actually part of a buying cycle in the past, and for some reason or another, it did not make it through to the lovely closed one that we all like to see. But of course, they have high intent because they probably have ran through a demo, maybe even tried out a trial of it. But then they, you know, changed jobs and now they're at a new company. So these are the two different programs we've got, the alumni program and then the prospects program. You can go on to the next. So as far as, you know, the workflow that we have, like I mentioned, where you really need, you know, the well-oiled machine, your systems talking to each other. A lot of this has to do with the back end and things working smoothly operationally. However, then there's also the outreach that goes into it. So, you know, of course, somebody who is a champion and a user of our platform, they join a new company, and UserGems then lets us know. They come into our systems. They go through our lead assignment, lead routing. They go through our lead scoring process. For us, in our world, 50 points is our lead score threshold to then be sent over to sales. So what we do is, of course, UserGems, if they are a former customer, former user of our platform, and they've moved on to a new company, they have a high propensity to buy, and we love them. We want to talk to them. So our sales gets really excited to talk to these people. So we want to send them directly to sales. So we actually, we add additional lead score points to make sure that they get sent directly to sales right away, unless they are wildly out of our ICP. In which case we would then nurture them. But most of the time, because they've been in our platform before, they are spot on. They come into us, they get assigned to the correct sales rep, they get routed correctly. In our world, it's the BDR who's the one that's reaching out, doing the outbound. I know every company has a different name for it. Then once that goes to the rep, they have an outreach sequence specifically for UserGems. They enter them into that outreach sequence. However, I will mention before they do that, there is some due diligence that takes place, looking up to see, okay, this is an alumni. What company did they work for previously? How long has that company been a customer of ours? This particular person, what kind of user were they within the platform? Did they actually use it themselves, or were they just a viewer of somebody else's work? So we encourage our reps to, you know, that's part of that sales enablement I was talking, and the trainings as well that I was talking about. We encourage them to take a pause, look them up on LinkedIn, you know, look at our systems and understand the full picture of who this person is, how involved were they with the platform, then enter them into the sequence and do whatever personalization that you feel is necessary. The outreach sequence for our UserGems alumni is about 20%, and that's 2x what the typical response rate is. So we get high response rates from our gems that come to us. So they go into the sequence, and then of course they're getting, they're aiming to book a meeting with them. I see there's a lot of questions coming in on this slide. I think we're going to probably be saving those to the end. So we can, yeah, let's go forward to the next slide then. Okay, so I wanted to share an example of this happening. and us actually booking the meeting and then following it all the way through to a closed won deal. So this was actually earlier this year. A gem, a former user of the user testing platform. This is an anonymized person, I will say. So Lucy Winters was a senior product designer at Intuit. She then joined a new company called Revelier as their lead product designer. Then what happened is we were informed through our usage of UserGems, went through our system like I just showed before, went through that full workflow and in early February, and the meeting ended up getting booked off of the first email. And then the meeting was completed the very next day. And then about a month and a half later, we had a closed won deal, signed contract, and everything went through. So this was the email that is used as the first email. So just referencing that they came from their previous company, reminding, oh yeah, they use user testing, a little bit of value props on, our platform, and then trying to invite them to set up some time to introduce user testing to their current team. So it's a simple email. It has a couple of references in there about the fact that they are a previous user of our platform and we know who they are. So I think there's a little bit more personalization that reps have the freedom of doing if they get on their LinkedIn and find other facts about them based on their due diligence research that they do up front. But this is just like the baseline of an email that gets a response. So our program is well loved internally at user testing. The field, we get our UserGems in on a monthly basis, and the field looks forward to it every single month. They use the UserGems lists to reach out because they know that it's low hanging fruit and they're asking for it every single month when the next one is coming. So it's definitely something that we've seen a lot of really great success with. It is in the top 5 programs that drive discovery calls for our organization. As I shared a little earlier, we get 20% response rates. Our typical email response rates on our other standard sequences are 10%, so it's 2x. We've generated 25 million in pipeline just in the last, since 2021, so about 2.5 years. And 137 influenced opportunities just this year alone. So we love it. It's definitely something that we are going to continue to take advantage of and make the most of to help build our pipeline. And then looking at diving deep into some of the analytics, our win rate is 58% better than the average win rate if it's a UserGems lead. So it's highly valuable for us. And, I'm just really looking forward to improving the program even more. So on the next slide, I can share a little bit of that, a little insight on what's next for us with it. Just getting more personalized. So really understanding the user role up front of the person who is the gem and what their user role was in our platform, specifically at their last company. So having that up front and at the ready for the rep will be a lot better than having them have to go dig that up themselves. So they can skip that step if we can just provide it to them, which we're working on getting that into our data. And by user role, I mean, were they a super user or were they a mid-level user? Were they just a viewer of somebody else's work? Did they actually create studies within our platform themselves? So understanding that. Additional personalization is account type. So at their previous company, were they a subscription customer or were they something different, such as we have all different types of account types. Were you just a pay as you go type of customer? Were they in our database as a trial user, or were they a subscription customer? So those are different options that we can also get have at the ready for the rep to see, so they don't have to do the due diligence step and look that up and take the time to look that up on their own. An additional thing that we're looking forward to kicking off is getting more involved in the paid media plays. And I know that Isaac is going to talk exactly about that coming up here. So we're definitely taking forward steps to make sure that we are also targeting UserGems within paid advertising campaigns. So yeah, Isaac, go ahead and let's hear a little bit more about that.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'll dive into this a little bit. Right off the bat, though, anybody that wants to see like a text version of some of these things I'm going to be talking about, Karina Owens, the ABM guru over at Gong, has a 7-step ABM playbook. If y'all want to scan that QR code, check that out for after this call, that'd be great. But I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're using those job changes as a signal, but also using the surfacing of buying committee for ADR alignment between the marketing team and the ADR team when you're executing ABM programs at scale. I'll also be talking a little bit on just broad paid media as well. This is just scratching the surface a little bit. So if you have any questions on any of the things I mentioned, drop those in the chat, and I'm happy to answer those questions after this section. So right off the bat, what we're looking at is paid media. So we're 90% heavy on LinkedIn for us. Because we're spending so much on LinkedIn, though, we want to make sure that all the spend we have there is as efficient as possible. So what we're doing, because UserGems surfaces that buying committee into your CRM, typically used for sales multi-threading, marketing can use it on this side as well for even segmentation at the contact level. Typically, when you're using LinkedIn, LinkedIn does an amazing job of optimizing for the cheapest possible conversion. But sometimes with more broad LinkedIn targeting, what you can get is a lot of people that you do not want to be converting because they convert so cheap. So what we're doing on this side is taking that buying committee at all those target accounts, pushing them out by persona. So for us, that's marketing, RevOps, and sales, and pushing them into their own campaigns. So we can say, we know for a fact these people match these criteria we've set up in UserGems, so we know exactly who these ads are going to. That way, if things go the wrong direction or anything like that, you can actually audit these lists at the contact level instead of making broad sweeping tweaks to LinkedIn audiences. Next one is the one that everybody tends to love hearing about is ABM programs. So ABM, the first way that we're using UserGems is actually prioritizing which accounts we're going after. ABM, like Karina says in that article that's linked above, they want to spend as much effort as possible on the smallest little group. So you aren't just targeting everybody for the sake of targeting them, you're really focusing your efforts. So one of the ways that you can do that is by using the number of champions at an account to identify which accounts you're going to be going after. So with UserGems, you can prioritize these lists, see which accounts for us have the most champions. So you could start with those and go further down the list. That way, when you pass those accounts over to an ADR team, they already have the warmest path of entry at every single one of those accounts. So yes, we surface that buying committee into that account for them, but also we have all the previous champions, the users, however those relationships are set up for you. So you can prioritize those and get the warmest path into those accounts. The second piece with ABM, though, is that actual ADR relationship with marketing. So at UserGems, we stand up around 300 one-to-one campaigns a month on LinkedIn. So every single account has its own campaign. It's a heavy lift on the marketing side, but definitely doable. But the one piece that I would never attempt without UserGems is passing 300 fresh accounts over to an ADR team every single month. By the time they got all their contact research done, that campaign was probably over on the marketing side. And any contact research that has been done is probably not as extensive. So we're able to pass over 15 plus prioritize contacts to our ADR team at the beginning of that month. And all they have to do is push them to sequence. So we don't have to worry about all the actioning and the research on that side of things. Going on to another fun one. Like Justine said, multi-threading is a popular buzzword in marketing right now. But again, we're using those buying committees at target accounts to actually multi-thread through LinkedIn. There's ways to do this with targeting the entire account at a company and then doing personas down from there. But we found there's usually a lot of wasted spend when you do stuff like that. So what we've done on our side is focus just on the buying committee, but separate it out by persona. So on our side, when an opportunity opens up in Salesforce, we have that report that shows all of our opportunities that are open by persona. So we have a report for sales, for marketing, for RevOps. As soon as anybody joins one of those, they get pushed into this marketing sequence where we're saying, hey, sales, hey, marketing, hey, RevOps, your team is talking with us about X. Do you want to join the conversation? So we just ask them right off the bat. And one of the interesting things about these campaigns is based off the paid media performance, you won't see a lot of direct conversions through these, but you'll see a lot of engagement. And then you'll start hearing them on sales calls and post-sales calls, or even some of the calls that I hop into, where they're saying, yeah, I saw this, I screenshotted it, I sent it off to my team. So it starts these conversations a little bit earlier, but in a more natural way. So instead of that email coming through, which should always happen on the sales side, it's happening in a way where they're actually bringing it up to their team based off of something they've seen. It's a really interesting way to do this. And because it's so hard to track on the paid media side of things, we did this as a 50-50 split test across our entire CRM. And at the end of this, we saw 31% higher win rates, 25% bigger deal sizes, 67% more prospects involved in a deal, and 17% shorter sales cycles across all those multi-threaded opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Isaac, for that. And Priscilla, for deep diving into your process. It's always really cool to see how different companies are using UserGems, since we're such heavy users of our own product as well. So thanks for the sharing. Priscilla, you did have a lot of questions that came in on your slide. Maybe actually, if we want to go back to it too, we can kind of go through the flow. But the first question they had was from Sarah, and she was wondering how you're tracking people that were a part of the buying cycle, so those prospect program, and is it based on the data entered by your sales team within your Salesforce?
Oh yeah, it's people who are attached to who were attached to the opportunity as a contact role. So we know that they were they were part of that buying process because they were attached to one of those opportunities that went close loss. I think that's what they were referring to.
Yeah, I think so. And then in terms of Sarah, opportunities, contacts, I think that's also how we do it here internally. So what we do is we just pull a Salesforce report of opportunity contacts. If your team is not great at filling in opportunity contacts, we also have ways to help you get that data as well. So definitely, if you're concerned about the sales inputting data in your CRM, we can definitely help. And then one question on this slide in terms of your outreach sequences, Trinity asked how many steps your sequences are.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how many steps there were, but we definitely wanted to make sure that we had multi-channels in it. So it includes steps such as email, LinkedIn, sending in-mail, as well as even calling. So we want to try and hit them through all the different avenues that we can, and wanted to make sure that we have all those different touch points involved. So once you get down to it, I mean, it adds up between email one and then send LinkedIn message and then do a phone call and then send another message. So it's just, yeah, I think it's quite a bit of steps, but it's because we're using several different avenues.
And on that note too, for anybody that's in the call that doesn't know about it yet, but on our website, we show all of our playbooks on all these different scenarios. So if you want to kind of dive in and see some examples of what we recommend or something similar to what they're running at user testing, dive in there and just kind of browse through, gather some ideas from there.
Great shout out. Great. We have a question from Alec, and I actually think I would like both of your takes on this because I think we all have our own thoughts here. What's more important, targeting mid-level managers or C-level? C-suite individuals usually don't engage in these types of outreach emails, or Isaac, also maybe your paid ads. So Priscilla, if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, totally spot on. They don't normally engage in, in those emails and the paid ads. However, I think that it helps to have air cover, to be putting our brand and our message positioning in front of them, regardless of whether they're engaging with it or not. That way that we are touching not only people who are the individual contributors or the mid-level director level, but also the C-suite, so that when they are the buying group is starting to build that business case internally to take to C-suite, they might remember in their back in their like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, now I think I saw their name somewhere, or, I think I saw this message, like it might just ring a bell for them and make it a little bit easier. So greasing the wheels, if you will, a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll answer this from the paid media perspective. So you're definitely right that a lot of the time they won't be the ones to engage, but I would say the volume with job change targeting is going to be a lot higher because it's not like cold outreach or just normal paid media campaign to a CEO. It's a CEO that's used you in the past, so that there's already that recognition. So you don't have to get past a frequency threshold and all that. They know you, they likely know people on your team, so they're a lot more likely to engage there. We see CMOs, CEOs come through our ads on that side of things as well, just because the targeting is a little bit tighter there. So yeah, most of your volume will still come through that director, VP level, but CEOs, I would never count them out. One of the other ways you can go about that too is, so because we're surfacing CFOs at our company or at UserGems, we're surfacing CFOs into our CRM. What we're doing with that is, as soon as an opportunity opens up, we're actually multi-threading those CFOs through paid media, but in a more or a less direct way. So with other personas, we're trying to pull them into the deal. CFOs, we just want to heavily social proof around them just because they tend to be a blocker. So what we're saying, we're bringing up testimonials from customers that are CFO or CFO personas, or talking to some of the pain points that our AEs are hearing on calls with CFOs. So by the time that deal gets to the point where the CFO is involved, hopefully they've seen those testimonials, they've seen the talk track that CFOs care about. So it's a little bit less of a blocker when they get involved in the deal.
Yeah, and I will also add, if you are messaging to, take their job level in consideration as far as the message positioning that you're using as well. So if we're messaging to C-levels, C-suite executives, we're talking about ROI. We're talking about, the business value, the bottom line, because that's what they're going to care about the most.
Question from Sarah to Isaac. How do you do the one-to-one ads where there's a target audience requirement of 300?
Yeah, definitely. So what I would say first off is prioritize accounts over that 300. Usually performance will be a bit better with them just because you can target fully just that account. Once you get to that point where like we're running 300 accounts a month, yes, we will get some of those every once in a while where it won't meet the LinkedIn threshold. So we definitely recommend tossing in maybe a filler group into that audience just to bump up that audience size a little bit. So yeah, but definitely prioritize 300 before doing anything like that.
Do you have any advice on filler audiences?
I would say blue collar companies are always great.
I think that was our last question in both our Q&A and in our chat. So unless there's any more questions, we had really awesome discussion. Priscilla, thanks again for sharing. Isaac, you too.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Hey, everybody.
Have a good day.